Hello everyone. Good evening to all of you. We at Sama Audit Systems and Software Private Limited have bring to you a special edition of IDEA training. We bring to you brand element live from Canada. Now, over the years, Sama Audit Systems and Software Private Limited as a group, we have been making efforts to build a strong IDEA community which is now visible in terms of participants who attend our user conferences, training programs. We have got a very robust Google group, which is we have more than 1,000 people who are registered on our Google group. Those of whom you're not members, you may join that Google group. We have online paid e-learning sessions 101 and 102, which is the basic training and the advanced training for IDEA, which is available online for people to subscribe. And we have brought in a lot of online training programs. But today's edition is very special because we have Brian Element live from Canada, from CaseWare IDEA. He has agreed to be awake early in the morning and do a session for us. We have sent you all the details about Brian Element, but I'll quickly go over some features. Brian Element has, prior to joining CaseWare IDEA, I think he has more than 30 years extensive work with Canadian federal government, where he has worked in different roles as an external auditor, internal auditor, and in finance. He has been working with IDEA extensively over the years. He is presently tasked with developing IDEA scripts for the IDEA lab, and he supports a website, ideascripts.com. So if any of you are interested in looking at the scripts which he has developed, you can join ideascript.com, which is a free website, and you can actually download all the scripts from there. Over to you, Brian.
Thank you very much for that introduction. I would like to thank Sama for inviting me to this presentation. No worries about early morning. I'm an early riser, so this is excellent. Doing this first thing in the morning. And I would like to welcome everybody to this complimentary session on custom functions. This is something that I have been playing with for a long time with an IDEA. It's one of these items that I think is underutilized in IDEA, and I think it has great power. And hopefully after this session, everybody will realize the potential for creating custom functions. So there's 3 different items I hope that you will take away from this session once it's complete. First off is I want you to be able to understand how the custom function interface works. And how we're going to do this is I'm just going to build a very simple custom function, and we'll go in and we'll explain the interface, how it works, different options and everything like that. And you'll see it's actually quite simple to create and do. There's nothing to be worried about or anything like that. It's probably a fairly easy learning curve just to actually go in and just start creating your own custom functions. Second part is I want you to learn how to create a custom function that will simplify a complex criteria in the equation editor. So what I mean is sometimes in equation editors, we can have items that are quite complex, and there could be ways that we could do it as a custom function that makes it easier to read, easier to go in and edit later on. And I'll show you examples of that. And finally, I'll show you different ways, a couple of different examples of creating custom functions that we can't do in the equation editor or that we can't do easily in the equation editor. So now I'm going to switch over to IDEA. Just give me a sec. So for these examples, I am just going to be using, sorry, 1 second. Sorry. Okay. Sorry. So for these examples, I'm just going to be using the sales transaction database. And guess what? I was doing something else and I forgot to put this back. Sorry, folks. There we go. And just let me just clean this up for you. I was doing a run through earlier this morning and I forgot to clean this up. My apologies. There we go. Okay. Sorry. So, okay, so I'm just going to be using the sample details sales file. This is a file that comes with the your sample project folder when you install iDEA, so everybody has access to this. And what I'm going to do is, first off, I just want to show you the custom functions, how it works. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create a very simple custom function that's going to be an addition. I'm just going to take two fields. Yes?
Brian, I'm sorry to interrupt you. We are unable to see your screen. Are you still
Okay.
presenting?
Yes, I am. 1 second. No, please. There, just let me go in and see. Are you able to see my screen now?
Oh, perfect. Thank you so much.
You can see it? Perfect. Okay, sorry. Let me know if there's any other problems. Okay, so yes, I'm just using the detailed sales. So I'm just going to create a simple custom function to add two fields together. So this is something you can do easily in the equation editor, but to explain the custom functions, I just want to do something nice and simple. So to access custom functions, it's through the equation editor. So what I'll do is I'm just going to create a virtual field. I'll just call it addition. Say virtual numeric. Now, custom functions work almost the same as the regular at functions. So if I go grab any at function, so if I say the at left, and we go look at it, we can see that we have the at symbol, the name of the function, then we have the brackets or parentheses that will hold one or more different parameters. Custom functions work the exact same way. So the only difference is instead of using the at, you use the hashtag to access them. And then when you, the hashtag to access them, and then you end up with the different parameters. So it's just items, custom functions that you were creating yourself. So an example is I've got some installed here and I can just do the hashtag here. And these are the different custom functions that I currently have installed on my system. So to do that, to create a custom function is we go into custom functions. So that's accessed through the equation editor and the icons. You click on the custom functions. This brings us up to the area where we create new custom functions. So we can create new custom functions. We can edit, do duplicates, delete, and so on. So I'm just going to create a new one here. So I create new. This brings up the editor that allows me to create the custom functions. Now there's certain different information that we need here to create a custom function. First off, we need the function name. And in this instance, I'm just going to call this addition. Now the function name works more or less the same way as the at functions name. So when you're creating this, you can't use spaces, you can't use special characters, but you can use the regular alphanumeric symbols. So we're just going to call this addition. So that's our name. So this is going to be how we're going to reference it. Next is we can go change the parameters. So the parameters are the items that we're expecting between the brackets or the parentheses. So as you see, as with the at functions, usually there's one or more items we're expecting. Same thing for the custom functions. We can have different parameters here. And the custom functions allows up to 6 different parameters to be used. So in this instance, I need 2 parameters because I want 2 numeric fields to add together. So I'll select the type. So we have the choice of being either character, numeric, or date. They don't have the option for time. So this would mean that when we're entering in the information in the equation editor, that this would have to be, in this instance, a numeric field. And we can call this number 1. And this is just be the variable name. So this is the reference we'll be using when we create our custom function. And the help text this is for the users. Excuse me. This is for the users so they know exactly what they are, putting in here. So I can just say like, number field 1. And I need the 2 parameters, so I'll do the same thing here. I'll call this number 2. So number field 2. So I click on OK. So as we can see here, that as I'm entering these different information, it's actually using that information to start building my custom function. So we can see here, we got the function name, which comes from what we entered here. And number 1 and number 2 are based on our parameters. Now, to actually understand this, the custom functions are actually built in Visual Basic, which is the same that is used in iDEA script. So to create basic custom functions, you don't really need to know much, but if you really want to get the full benefit of the custom functions and the full potentials out of them, then I highly recommend you take like an iDEA scripting course from SAMA. So they would teach you the basics of iDEA script that you could use here to create your custom functions because it's the same language. iDEA script and the language here for the custom functions are the same. So we've got the addition here. So this is the name of our function. We got our 2 variables. It is added on as double. So as double within Visual Basic means that this is a type of variable. So it's a type of item that holds a number and decimals. So double actually holds the largest value of number of decimals, and that's what it defaults to. So we're having first field. This is what we're trying. This is what will be coming from the equation editor. This will be the second field coming from the equation editor. And then as string, this is the item we're returning. So right now the default is we're going to be returning a character. But in this instance, we don't want a character. We want to go in and change this to a numeric. So we want to change this to a number. And as you can see, it changes this to as double. So now we'll be returning a number. And here's the help text. So this is the help text for the users. And there we'll just basically see adds 2 numbers. And then here we can go in and create our first function. Excuse me. And it's easy enough. So how you return the item to the equation editor, because what we're doing is we're taking the items that's being sent from the equation editor. We are then doing some type of analysis on it, or doing some type of coding on it to return a different type of value. And how we return that value that will ultimately be used in the future equations or displaying within iDEA is to take the name of the function equal to number 1 plus number 2. So in this instance, what we're doing is I'm saying the function name is going to be returning the number 1 and the number 2, so whatever these fields are. And once that's done, I can click on validate. There are no errors in the custom function. I click on save function. And then to exit the edit function, there's no close box or anything like that. You just go over to the X here and then close it. We now see we have the addition. Perfect. So now I'll just close this again. Brings me back to iDEA. So now I can use it. So now I can just do hashtag addition. And I'll just do sales before tax, comma, sales tax. And you notice I'm using a comma So it'd be either a comma, so it's the list separator here, because I'm not actually doing the addition here. What I'm doing is I'm sending the contents of this field and this field to the custom function. The custom function is doing the addition and then returning the results back. And then I'll go click on validate, I click on OK, and there we go. So that's a very simple custom function. So that's the first part. The next part is I want to show you how you can use the custom functions to make things easier to understand when you can still do it in the equation editor. So again, what I've done is I've created a couple of equations, and what I'm looking for is to use the invoice date and return the day of the week. So is this a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday? So if we go in, and I'm just going to create another virtual field. This instance will be a character field because I'm going to be returning the day of the week. Now I've already created a few different equations. So here is one way we could do it within the equation editor. So this has a bunch of if statements, nested if statements. Excuse me. So you can see how, I've got one if statement if it's equal to 1. So the date of the week returns 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, depending on which day of the week. So 1 is equivalent to Sunday, 2 is Monday, 3 is Tuesday, and so on. So you can see in here that it gets kind of hard to read because they're all nested. This example is not too bad. I have seen examples that will go down like 20, 30, 40 lines and become really, really difficult to go in and edit. This is not too bad, but it's getting to be at the limit here if you want to go making changes or something like that. So, and also you notice that the day of week, I am basically recalculating the day of the week, multiple times here. So that's using up resources because I'm redoing this each time when I don't have to. Another way we could potentially do that is if we go in here and go week example, is I could use the comp if. So the comp if makes it a bit easier to read, but again, I am repeating this function over and over again. So what I'm going to show you to do is another alternative where we could do it within the custom function that will ultimately make it more readable. And that's the thing here. If it's more readable, it ends up being easier to edit and to make changes to it. So I'm just going to create a new one called day of week. And just one sec. Sorry, I'm just got my notes on another screen here so I don't make any mistakes while I'm doing this. So the function name is day of week. Again, we need a parameter, and the parameter is going to be our invoice date. So you want a date field. Oops. No. Could everybody make sure they're on mute, please? There we go. Okay. So, okay. So the name here, I'll just call this date field, and I'll just date help text. So you could add in better help text here, but just for simplicity, I'll just add in the date. So I'm going to be using a date. So I'm going to click on OK. I'm going to be returning the output type is a character because I want to return Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and whatever. Help text, I'm not going to bother entering anything in just to not take up your time. But here we could see I've got my function. So I'm taking a date, and now I want to find out the day of the week. Now, fortunately, within the custom functions, we have something called the language browser. It's basically the same thing as an IDEA script. So if we click on this, we can see the different basic commands that are available within the custom functions. And I know I can go into converting, and if I go look here, there is something called weekday. So weekday is an integer, and what it does is the day of the week begins with Sunday, therefore Sunday is a 1, Monday is a 2. So it works the exact same way as the @day of week. It's the Visual Basic equivalent of the @day of week. So we're going to use that here. And what I need is several variables to hold the different items, because I don't want to repeat the weekday multiple times. So instead what I could do is I could do it once, and then I'm getting some interference here.
Can I request everyone to please put their mics on mute?
Yes.
Sorry, Brian. Brian, please
No
continue.
problem.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So what I want to here is I want to create a couple of variables. So variables hold information within the function. And I want to create a variable to hold the number, the integer for the day of the week, whether it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or 7. And I also want to create an integer to hold the actual day of the week, whether it's Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So to do
Brian, we've lost your audio.
Sorry, okay, I'm back. It's because when you mute everybody, you mute me too, so I gotta remember to unmute myself. That's all right. So you okay. So there you go. A string. So what I'm doing here is I'm creating two variables that will hold the information that I need. So one is an integer, so that'll hold like a 1, 2, 3, 4. So integers hold numbers from 0 to about 32,000. Weekday is a string, so strings hold up to about 64,000 characters. So we'll use these variables to hold the different information. So first off, I want to say the day of week equals weekday, date field. So what, whoops, I've got a typo here. 2 typos there. So what this does is it will go in and it will grab the number of the weekday. And we can go in and test this to make sure it's working here. We have an option here to test equation. So I can just enter in the date. So here I'll enter in today's date. And if I click on test, and what did I do wrong here? Day of week. Oh, sorry. It's because that's why I need to return the value. That's why it was giving me the error. Sorry about that. So it's returning 3. So 3 is Tuesday. So Sunday is 1, Monday is 2, Tuesday is 3. So it's returning the right day of the week. I'll just make this a bit bigger. So now, next thing I want to do is something called a select case. So I'm going to add this in. I won't make you watch me type it. So what this does, it works like a comp if. So if you use the comp if within iDEA, it works basically the same way. What it's doing is it's saying I'm going to take the item, whatever's the day of the week. So if it's a 1, then make the weekday equal to Sunday. If it's a 2, make it equal to Monday. If it's 3, equals to Tuesday, and so on down the road. And then finally, we will just say day of week equals weekday to return it back to the equation editor. Let's do a test. And now it's giving me Tuesday, which is exactly what I want. So once this is complete, I can go in and do validate. I'll go save it. Now we can see day of week exists here. So now I can use it within the equation editor. I'll just say day of week, the invoice date. I'll go validate. I'll click OK. And here we got the day of the weeks. So that is easy enough. So that's just one way. And if we went back and looked, remember the equation editor or the custom function, it's a lot more readable as a custom function than it is as the equation editor. So if we just go back here, let's just go open up one of the equations again. So this is how this looks. Oops, one sec, let me just move this out of the way. So here you can see the two together. This I find is definitely more readable and easier to make changes to than this. So this is an example where the custom function allows you to take something you could do in the equation editor, but do it in a fashion that's, I don't know, maybe a bit more efficient, more effective, especially if you want to go make changes to it in the future or something. This is easier, much easier to understand what's going on than the equation editor here. So just let me get out of here. I'll just do that, cancel. So the next example here is I want to give one where we're going to do something that is not really easy to do in the equation editor. And what I'd like to do is I'm going to still focus on dates, because dates usually are, problematic in most things, like in the equation editor, making changes to them and everything. So I got a couple of examples of what we can do for the dates. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create another function that will take this date and give me the first of the next month. That could be interesting. You may want to do calculations based on the first of the next month or something like that. So having that information available could be useful. So we're going to do that. So again, I'll just do append. I'll call this first of next month. And then in this instance, it's going to be a date field because we're going to return the date. Again, we'll just go in the custom function. We'll do new. I'll call this first of next month. And our parameter, again, would be the date field. So the invoice date. So, and we'll be returning an output type. So this is the same thing as you can see. We always have to select our parameters, make sure that we're returning the right output type, give it a function name, no spaces, and so on. And then I go in and write my code. Now to do this, we have to think, what do we need to do? Okay, so if you have a date, we want to return the first of the next month, we have to know the year, we have to know the month, and we have to have some way to create the first of the next month and return that. And in there too, we got to add in a bit of logic, because if the month is a December, the next month is January, so that means that instead of a 12, so month 13 is not 13, it has to change to 1, and we have to increment the year by 1 also. Fortunately, that's fairly easy to do as a custom function. So let's just go back to our language browser. Great place. Language browser, if you're learning how to use custom functions, great place to go in and look to see what different functions are available. And if we go in, we can see we have a function to get the year, and it returns an integer, so it's returning a number. We also have one that returns a month, also as an integer, so it'll return like 1, 2, 3, whatever the month may be. And finally, there's something called date serial. So date serial returns a date corresponding to the year, month, and day parameters. So we can use the date serial to enter in the year, the month, and the day, which would be the first in this instance, and it'll return a date. So perfect. We have everything we need to do to build this as a custom function. So I will just do that. So I need to create my variables first, one to hold the year. And also I need one to hold the month. Both of them are integers because remember those functions will return an integer, a number, so I need to make sure I define them as the same way. And then I just say iYear equals to year, date field. So there, I have now grabbed the year. iMonth equals month, date field. There, I have now grabbed the month. So I have the year and the month. Now, since I'm doing the next month, I want to increment the month by 1 to go grab the next month. So I'll just say I month equals I month. So plus 1. So what's happening here is if this month is 9 or 10, then I will take this 9 or 10, add 1 to it, and then the month gets updated to now be whatever the current month is plus 1. Now I just add in some logic here because I want to make sure. So if it's greater than 12, so that means now it's gone into the next year, then I want to reset the variables. I want to reset the I month equals 1, set it to January, and I want to increment the year by 1. And do end if. So here it's just a logic statement, much like the equation editor, written a bit differently, but it's the same thing. We have the if, except in this instance, I'm not having any else because the else is status quo, so I don't have to actually put anything. And then finally, I'll take, and I'll make this a bit larger. So I'm taking the name of the function equals to, and remember, we could use date serial function. And the first one is the integer, so I enter in the I year, then the month, and then I'm just putting 1 because I want the first. Now if we go test this out with today's date, there. So we're in April, so now it gives me May 1st. So I'll go validate it, I'll go save it, we'll go back. Now this is available, so let's go try first of month, and it was the invoice date. Click on yes, and there, now we've got the first of the month. Excuse me. So you can see how easy it is. Now, doing this in the equation editor, I'd have to sit back and try to figure out how to do it. You know, it's probably possible in the equation editor, but I find it a lot more easier to do just as a custom function. And I know we're getting to the end of here. I just have one more short example I want to show that is really, I find really, really interesting. It could be quite useful. So the last custom function I want to talk about is one to do format the date. So within iDEA, if we do column settings, we can go in, if we do a date field, we have different types of settings here, but we're limited to what they are here. But we can actually create custom functions to give us full control over the formatting of a date. And it's really, really simple in as a custom function. And I'm just going to do that quickly. I'm just going to call this format date. And this will be a character field because what I'm returning is not the date, it's going to be the formatted date. So I'll just give this 20. Again, we're going to create a new one. Date. So our parameters for this instance, we need 2 parameters. We need the date field. And we'll also use a character. We need a mask. So the mask will tell iDEA or the custom function what format you want the date returned as. And if we go back into the language browser, like I keep saying, language browser is great. There's lots of stuff here. If we go into converting, there's something called format. And format allows me to format date, time, numbers, characters, all in different ways. So I can use long date, medium date. I can use the place, the month and the abbreviation, the full month name. I can order it however I want. So I could technically have month, year, day, year, month. Like I can have it all. So it would be up to you on what you want to do as the formatting. So this is a great little function here that I use quite a bit in my scripting. And it's really easy to write because basically all it is format date equals format date field, comma mask. Now let's go test this out. So I'm going to give it today's date again. And then let's say I want to see the long date. So if I go test now, it gives me April 7th, 2020. If I want to go see, if I wanted to go see a short date, I can get this. I get 2020-0407. Maybe instead I don't want the dashes. Maybe I want commas there. So let's go change that, and I could say I wanted YYYY for year, comma, month, comma, day. There, I've changed the dashes for commas. So you can make all kinds of changes. So you can really control the formatting that you want here, which is great. So then I'm going to do validate. I'm going to save. So then I'm going to go back and I'll go do, so I want format date. I'll do the invoice date, and I'll just choose the long date as this example. Click on OK. And now we can see, now we have it formatted date. So this is an easy way to do date formatting, that specifically the way that you want it. So thank you very much. I think I went a few minutes over. I hope you don't mind.
Thank you, Brian.
If you have
we really
yes.
liked your. Thank you, Brian. We really liked your presentation today. Very insightful, and for someone who uses art functions very regularly, I think I'm going to definitely get onto the learning bandwagon and pick up some custom functions from you through the session. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're very welcome. They can be quite useful. Thanks.
Okay. Thanks. So, Brian, I have a couple of questions from a few attendees, which will take a couple of minutes, if it's okay with you.
Oh, fine. Yes.
All right, great. So thank you. I have a question from Mr. Satish Shenoy. He's the president of internal audit at the Aditya Birla Corporation, and he's got a two-part question. One is, in your experience of all these years, what is the best practice for data cleansing to make it adaptable to iDEA? That's the first part. And the second question is, data is only as good as the questions you ask. So how do we prepare ourselves to ask the right questions?
Oh, okay. Okay. The data cleansing, I think both questions come down to this sort of the same answers. Really, you have to know the data. You have to know what is expected. So to be able to cleanse the data, you have to know what is the data that you're expecting, then go in and see if that data actually exists. So it's different functionality.
Right.
Like for data cleansing, if you're expecting items in a character field and there's nothing there, well, then you have a problem. Date fields are always problematic, just because of all the different formats around the world. Especially if the system is, if it's a system generated, then it's not too bad, because generally it would be almost the same format. The problem is where the dates have been manually entered. And
right. Okay.
And custom functions can come in quite handy because it gives you additional programming flexibility to look at the different options within there.
Okay.
Yeah. So I don't know if that.
Oh, that's great. Great. Well, yeah, I'm sure we'll have Mr. Shenoy. He's heard this, and he will write into us if he has more to ask on that.
Okay.
I would like to go to question number 2. In fact, I can see Mr. Shenoy put in an answer on the chat box. He was that answer took up the question very well. I would like to put a question to you by Ms. Santoshi from Anand Automotive and Mr. Acharya from Mangalore Refineries. The very first custom function which you showed to us, you actually copy pasted 1 is equal to Sunday, 2 is equal to Monday in the text of the custom function. How did you get that part?
Oh, sorry, I cheated. I had it already done in a notepad. I already had the functions
so you basically
created in a notepad. Yeah, so it was cut and copy. Yes, copy paste.
Great. Excellent. And in the third case where you added a custom function for month and year where you have the result as mm-yy, question from Santoshi is, when you do a sort on that field, will it be sorted based on the month or based on the number? How would it get sorted?
The month, year. So when it comes back, it would be trying to think here. So it's a character field, so it'd be based on the characters. So it depends if you have like the 01, 02 as the month and the year, it should be sorted fine. Where you have the problems is if you have 1-year, 2-year, and then you got 10-year, then it will be sorted incorrectly. So when you're doing months and you want it to be sorted correctly, especially as a character field, you always want to make sure that it's 2 digits, and if it's like January, February, March, it's 01, 02, 03, and that will make sure that it's sorted properly as a character field.
Okay, excellent, great. And just circling back to the first question again, when you basically had the cheat sheet of 1 Sunday, 2 Monday,
yes.
What is the logic for that? I mean, how did you put that in?
The logic, I use something called the select. Yeah, I use something called the select case. That is equivalent to like the comp if in the equation editor. So it follows the same logic where I'm just going down one after the other, and if it works, it works. If not, it skips to the next one.
Excellent, great. One more question, before we wind up in the next few minutes. What's a very good learning material for the custom function in terms of a user guide or a video? Would you suggest something from your experience?
Not offhand. The custom functions are built off of Visual Basic. So different training you can do is you can do the iDEA scripting course. That would give you the necessary knowledge. Or you can go in and YouTube and look at like different Visual Basic courses, because it's the same language as Excel macros.
Excellent.
So if you find,
excellent.
So if you find something like that.
And to your knowledge, excellent. And then to your knowledge, are you aware of any video which is available on Passport for custom functions for iDEA users, maintained users?
There's none on Passport, but if you go to my YouTube channel on iDEA scripting, I do have a video there. I do have 2 videos there.
Okay, so Brian, if you could just take a minute and let everyone know about your website, because that's something we would like everyone to benefit from.
Sure. One sec. I'll just grab a notepad and put it up.
Excellent.
I'll just find my mouse. So, okay. So my site is iDEA scripting. Can't write now.com. I'll make this larger. So yeah, so this is the website that I host. I do have scripts there, and I do have custom functions there also.
Great, thank you. And I hope everyone's taken note of that. That's Brian's website, and he has his own YouTube channel where you can access some of the videos. Brian, 2 more questions. One from Mr. Rajesh Goenka. Are custom functions available in both the desktop and server versions of iDEA?
Good question. Desktop, definitely. Server, I have to be honest, I haven't played much with the server, so I don't know how custom functions interact with the server. So unfortunately, I can't really answer that question.
We can do that collective search and get back to Rajesh, sure. There's a question from Mr. Sudesh Kakkar from Oil and Natural Gas Corporation, whether custom functions will work on both macros, that is visual as well as iDEA macros.
Yes, you can incorporate custom functions. Custom functions work the same way as the add function, so they can be incorporated in a visual script. You just have to make sure that the project folder has that custom function in the custom functions folder. It has access to it. If it has access to it, then it will run no problem.
Excellent. And I can see one final question, which is, does iDEA have a statistical function called percentile in custom functions, like ready custom functions?
Actually, in the formatting, if I remember right, in the formatting, what we did the last part, there is formatting to do percentages in there.
Okay, excellent. Okay, great. So I think, Brian, we've really had a wonderful, insightful session. A lot of compliments to you for taking this to taking us through custom functions and being with us early this morning. And we look forward to many more of such sessions going forward. So good wishes to you, and thank you everyone for signing on. I will like Brian to just sign off by saying a few words, and thanks to everyone once again.
Well, thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate it. It's custom functions I enjoy. Like I said before, it's one of the things that I think are underutilized. So hopefully I have converted a few people to custom functions. And I would like to wish everybody a great day. Stay safe, especially in these times. And I hope everybody stays safe and their family stays safe. So thank you very much and have a great rest of the day.
Thank you. Thank you, Brian, and good evening to everyone. Brian, have a wonderful day ahead. I can see Rafael and many of the members from North America and Canada online. Thank you, everyone, for signing on. Stay safe, stay healthy. Good wishes to all. Thank you.
Thank you.